Hi, it's Andrei, and this is chapter 2.1, which is Android Studio and project structure. So today we're going to check the regular Android Studio project, and we'll check what is inside, how it works, what kind of files do we need to create Android application. So I prepared this list of possible files which are presented in normal Android Studio project. So what is inside? So first of all, there are sources, your code, which you write on the daily basis. It could be Kotlin and or Java files, because in the same time, Kotlin and Java files, they can exist in the same project, which I believe Java is still legacy, but yeah, that could be that Java is presented in Android project. The cool thing about Kotlin project is that Kotlin files are backwards compatible and they can live together. The second part is resources. So this is specific file mostly responsible for UI and for some configurations. So you can see here PNG files, for instance, WP, which are responsible for icons, for instance, other XML files like UI layouts, menus, strings, all of the possible resources supported by Android system. Other thing is assets. So if you have some specific files which cannot be a resource, they are stored in this special asset folder. This folder is specifically made for files which are not resources. So there could be some sound files, MP3, WAV files, maybe some huge documents, PDFs, stuff like that. Also, we have build files, which I marked with this violet color. We will touch this topic in the next lesson about the Gradle build system. So, in like long story short, these files are responsible for building your Android project. So making, so to say, a APK from your source code and resources. I'll show the whole process later. And the next one is generated files and folders. So Gradle is a cool thing and can generate some files to save you time. So the compilation process takes shorter if you have already some build files generated, and these files are marked here with the red typeface. And of course, if you use any type of version controls like Git, SVN, if you push your code somewhere, then you might have some version control files. It's mostly configuration. And last but not least, it's a libs folder, which is responsible for some third-party artifacts, which you can use in your Android project. So I created two Android projects just as an example, and we'll check it out now.
Well, I created two Android projects, which is called Project Structure and Project Structure 2. The difference between these Android projects is that Project Structure 1 is using modern way to create Android application, and Project Structure 2 is using classical way. I wouldn't say legacy because it's still not deprecated and it's nice. Android Studio is a big thing, and for all people who are new to Android development, especially to Android Studio, is really a mess how to understand what's going on here. And today we're going to focus on this simple window, which is called Project Structure. Here we can see the drop down with different options, and you can choose how your project structure is going to look like when you work, when you write the code. It's up to you, up to your convenience, which option to use. But for new people in Android development, I would, to be honest, prefer other option, not Android one. Android is default one, but as I said, for people who are new to Android development, I would choose project, because project is describing all files, all folders in your Android project in the better way. So this is exactly how project looks in your file system. So you can easily access all of these folders, all of these files through the Finder or through the Windows file system, whatever system do you use, and you can basically see how your project look like. Now let's expand our project. First thing I want you to see is that some folders are marked with bold typeface. This folder is called modules. We'll come to them later. Basically, modules, they're part of your project parts. So now we have here a source folder, and this is basically the folder where most of the coding will happen, and especially the interesting is the main module and Java subfolder. So here we have our code. Also, we have this Android test module with obviously Android tests. These are the tests which are executed on Android device. It can be UI tests, it can be instrumented tests, integration tests. Also, we have unit tests module where we have unit tests. It's basically some simple tests for testing business logic, but we will come to the testing later, much later in our course. So besides, we have res folder in this main module with layout subfolder. This is really interesting thing. So this is the user interface layout subfolder, contains many files, usually with different user interfaces, parts of views, activities, fragments. We'll also come to them later. So we have here, as you can see, interface builder. You can add buttons, you can move them, do some constraints, change the size. Under the hood, it works using XML language. It's like not even the language markup, and I prefer coding more than moving icons. This one is MIPMAP folder, which contains IC Launcher. IC Launcher, this is the main icon of our app, which you can see in the menu, application menu. So also, as you can see, we have values, but before coming to values, we have like different MIPMAP folders. It's for screen densities, as we have big, small screens, and so on. Also, we have colors. This is a representation of the color in Android. Usually, we have now by default black and white. Also, the strings with some in-app strings, so which you can localize later. Also some themes, and the new thing, we have different modes, dark mode and light mode, and here you can specify all of them. So yeah, this is the XML folder. Important thing that we have this Android manifest file. This file is essential as it provides important information about your application to the Android system, such as the app's components, permissions, and metadata. So here you can also specify main components of Android applications, such as an activity, service, broadcast receiver, and content provider. So without Android manifest, our app cannot exist. Coming back to project structure 1, which looks pretty similar, with one single difference. So if we open main module, we don't have layout subfolder here. So here we have layout,
and in project 1 we don't have it. Also, we don't have colors, and our theme is pretty simple, so it's way simpler. And why is it so? Just because we have different way to build the UI. So also, as you can see, the Java subfolder looks different. Yeah, just compare to the project structure 2. Yes, so main activity here contains more code. Comparing to this main activity, it's because, yeah, as I said, this is the new way of building UI. We don't have XML anymore, and we build UI with code using Composable, using Jetpack Compose, and this is something we are going to talk about next in the next lessons. So as you can see, also colors and themes, they look differently, and everything is written in Kotlin. Now, after we briefly went through the Android project, we can finally answer this question: what is inside? So as I said before, we have sources, resources, assets, build files, generated files and folders, and some version control system files. Of course, lib folders as well. And I made this simple screenshot to show you how much of all of them we have. And yeah, with the blue circles I marked the source code, the Kotlin files usually, or Java. The green one are the resources. The orange one, they are build files, generated files, and also the yellow one is the Git files. And as you can see here, we have quite a lot build Gradle files, so Gradle files, which are responsible for building the project. And in our next lesson, we will talk about build Gradle, about Gradle in general, about this build system, how it works, and how to deal with it. So hit the like button, don't forget to subscribe, and see you in the next lesson.